wanted to listen first to my colleagues on the board and acknowledge the pain and the journey of what it is and who we are now. And so thank you for sharing and for making yourself vulnerable in a space that does not respect vulnerability that we feel here in the university. So thank you for that courage to come out. Yesterday I was sitting in the back and I listened to the pillars of the Native Hawaiian community debate and exchange words of love and wisdom to each other. I'm probably on the same tables, and what an honor it is to sit on the same table and speak in the same room as these amazing souls that I have only read and talked to and ate in passing. And as they debated and lovingly exchanged words and creative paths for what Hawai'i can be, I was so moved by or reminded by my ancestors as they spoke about their ancestors being here. I think I want to share with you today not so much the story, as many of my colleagues here have shared their story and the struggles of coming here, but I want to share with you where I came from and the land that gave birth to me. And what I remember today, which is slowly passing away as I live here and come to school here and work here. I remember being born 1 year before the People's Power Revolution in the Philippines. I remember my mother giving birth to me. And I remember my uncles and my dads. Actually, my dad wasn't there, but I had many dads and many aunties and many uncles passing hot water and rags and said, push, push, push. And I came out, and there were males and females in the room in a tiny grass shack in Ilocos Norte, Bacara, in the Awai. Awai means country or where the waters come from in Ilocano. I remember riding the water buffalo. I remember being best friends with the buffaloes as they go on into the mountains, as my grandfather plants rice, plants bamboo, plants saluyot, plants eggplant. I remember those. I remember not being bored. I remember playing with things that didn't require electricity, no iPads to touch, no iPhones to play with, but bamboo trees to climb, mango trees to climb, jackfruit trees to climb. I remember learning from my cousins and my aunties and my uncles when to climb a tree, when to climb a mango tree filled with ants, and they said at 3 o'clock, because that's when they allow you to climb and get the mangoes, so you're not competing with lunchtime. So it's possible to climb a tree with ants. Isn't that beautiful? I remember building boats and making fishing poles and digging out worms underneath rocks. I remember playing in the streams and getting scoldings by my grandma because I should be napping. And I remember all those things because that was my home, and that is my home. I remember also moving to Manila because my mom says you need a better education, you will go to school someday. And as we moved into the city, we live in squatters in Makati underneath the rail pass next to the train stations, 6 inches away. I remember being born in the squatters. I remember when the Marcoses and the Aquinos come by, they build up walls around our settlement to block the poor people from being seen. I remember that. And then I remember my mom says this is not good enough, so that we have to come to Hawaii to get a better education, to live. And I remember that. And I remember being in Hawaii, going to school. And I remember not being able to dream in Ilocano, to dream in Tagalog. Now my dreams start to speak in English. I remember that. And so it goes. And I remember all the hard things that my colleagues remember. I remember standing in the federal court applying for American citizenship because I couldn't qualify for scholarships, and I remember pledging allegiance to the United States of America. I remember handing over my alien card and they punched a hole on it and I couldn't keep it. I remember getting the American passport, blue, the color of my colonial master's eyes, from green, the Filipino passport. I think I share this with you because for some reason these memories were triggered by the word sovereignty. And my ancestors, as I was waiting, they said, you have to share this, you have to share this, you have to share this, because you felt, you lived in a country that was politically sovereign. You drank water that nobody owned in Ilocos. You never saw any homeless person. You were never bored. You were never teased. You always spoke the language of your soul. Now, what does that have to do with this panel, with sovereignty, with ethnic studies, that I always felt like was missing, or at least was a silent story in the discourse that we have today? I think what I appreciate now of stories and the stories of my colleagues is that they came from a place in which maybe Hawaii wants or has dreamed of, a sovereign place, a place where you own your own water. These are the stories I think that we lose when we hear people being deported. That's one more story from a Chicana and Chicano that says we were once free and we could make empanadas free. We could roam around in the streets and kick our balls free in a country that was our own, named by our people, spoke in the language of our people. And that's, I think, what's missing. And I think that's the value beyond an engagement into U.S. citizenship, beyond the engagement of gaining rights, though we need the rights, though we need you. But what your value to this movement, to our movement, in a free and a liberated Hawaii, is that you've experienced that, where folks here could not. And that's what gets missed when you go into court and you're intimidated. You get to say, in my country, in the country that I was born in the land that I was born in, I could bring a water buffalo with me. I could bring a bolo knife with me, and no beeps will come about. No officer has to come to me. And that, to me, is the value of these kind of stories, the value of our presence, is that you remember that and you become a remembrance and you become a reminder of the vision that we're trying to live, or at least that I believe in, that I really believe in. And so I want to reframe it a little bit, that it's not simply about gaining American citizenship and rights into this place, but a remembering of who we are, who you are, and the resistance of the colonial effects of forgetting and assuming another identity other than yours. I think that's the value of these languages that we have here, the value of coming from other places, the value of being together, and the value of speaking together, and the value of this moment right now. Thank you.